30 years later, after the Missouri Compromise, we're going to see that the United States keeps on growing. We keep on expanding into new territories in the West. And so that's going to make that old compromise, that old Missouri Compromise, is no longer valid anymore because the country's getting bigger. So we need to figure out, well, what do we do now? So here comes the Compromise of 1850. And the Compromise of 1850 was actually a series of 5 different bills or 5 different laws that went through Congress to try to figure out, oh, what should we do with all this new land? Should all this new land be slave territory or free territory? And remember, it all comes down to that balance of power in Congress, that balance of power in the government. Slave states in the South want to maintain slavery, and they feel like if the North gets their way, then their way of life is going to be threatened. Whereas up in the North, we've got abolitionists that are trying to end slavery. So they want more states to be added as free states so they can get their way. And tension is starting to brew in the country over this idea of slavery, right? So in the Compromise of 1850, like I said, it was a series of 5 different bills. And here's the summary of what happened, okay? The first thing that would happen is that Texas, right? We've now acquired Texas, and when they were added as a slave state. But Texas would end up having to give up some of its land. So instead of being a really big, huge slave state, they'd just be a pretty huge slave state, right? We still know that Texas is a really large state, but it kind of shrunk in size so that slavery wouldn't be extended that much further. And then California, it's now time for California to be added as a state. So we can see that down there. And California would be added as a free state. And you might be thinking, yeah, but California's in the South. Again, that doesn't matter because the Missouri Compromise line would not be extended, okay? So we can see kind of this like purple line there. That's about where the Missouri Compromise line was. But in this new territory, part of the Compromise of 1850, they're saying, yeah, we're not going to extend that line. So California, even though it's down in the South, can be added as a free state, okay? And they also said that from now on, each state will get to choose for themselves if they want to allow slavery or not. What a novel idea, letting the people who live there decide what they want to do there. Isn't that a great idea? And then it also says that the fugitive slave law would be enforced even more. Now, we learned about the fugitive slave law when we learned about slavery. What the fugitive slave law said was that if runaway slaves make their way up to the North, they have to be returned to the South. And to this point, the states in the North were kind of ignoring that law, and they were allowing slaves to find their freedom in the North. But with the Compromise of 1850, the Southern states said, you guys can't do that anymore. You have to return our slaves to us. They're our property. And so that was part of the compromise. The North didn't want to return the slaves, but hey, California was added as a free state. The Missouri Compromise line wasn't extended. So the North was kind of getting a couple things that they wanted. So a compromise by definition means that the South needs to get a few things that they wanted. So again, Texas was added as a slave state, but they kind of shrunk it. California was added as a free state. The Missouri Compromise line is no longer a thing, and the fugitive slave law would now be enforced even more. So that kind of wraps up all the different things that happened with the Compromise of 1850. Take a moment now, pause the chart or pause the video, fill out your chart, and then you can move on to the next one.